Take your seats. The town meeting will get ready to start. Good evening and welcome to the May 5th annual town meeting. Tim Goddard, our town moderator, has resigned due to personal reasons. Because of that, we are going to have to elect a town moderator for this evening. I will now open the floor for nominations for the town moderator to serve as needed for this town meeting.
Steele McCurdy, Crane Road. I would nominate David Spanigal for town moderator.
Thank you, Steele. It has been moved and seconded that David Spanigal serve as town moderator until this town meeting is dissolved. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, I move to close the nominations. It's been moved and seconded to close the nominations. We're going to vote by clicker. So you all have your clickers in front of you. A yes vote means we are voting for David Spanigal as Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, we have to close the nominations. I apologize. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. So now we're going to vote on the town moderator, David Spanigal. So on the top is a yes for David Spanigal, and the bottom is a no. We'll open it for 20 seconds. The vote is now closed. We had 120 total votes. Okay. Yes. It should light up on the top. It will, so as you look at it, when you press the number, it'll have an A. I would go back and get a new clicker. It's only when the vote is open that, okay. Sorry, it's just taking a minute. 115 yes and 5 noes. Vote passes. I will now swear in David Spanigal as our town moderator till the close of tonight.
Good evening. I'm David Spanigal. I'm your town moderator just for tonight. But I did serve as town moderator in the town of Lancaster for 7 terms, so it isn't my first rodeo. At this time, we need to vote on an assistant town moderator who can handle our overflow room in the cafeteria. I will now open the floor for nominations for an assistant town moderator to serve as needed for this town meeting. The assistant town moderator will act in the same capacity as the moderator to ensure that all voters are heard in the overflow room, the cafeteria, tonight, Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. Is there a nomination?
Steele McCurdy, Crane Road. Tom Kostasek.
We have had a nomination and a second. Tom Kostasek to serve as assistant town moderator as needed or until tonight's meeting is dissolved. And the motion was seconded. Are there any other nominations? I see none. So I'm going to close nominations for assistant town moderator. Thank you. All in favor of closing nominations, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. We can move directly to a vote for Tom Kostasek to serve as the assistant town moderator tonight. I invite you to use your clickers in the next 20 seconds. Yeah, voting is closed. Can I announce it? Gosh darn it, Tom is more popular than I am, or more people are in the room. We have an assistant town moderator. Tom, congratulations. Stand up and take a bow. And now you have to hustle down the hallway because there's hundreds of families there who want their kids watched and they can participate in town meeting. As you know, every town meeting is called pursuant to a warrant issued by the Select Board. Hearing no objection, I will forego the reading of the warrant. I hope you brought yours from home or collected one. And I'll begin by reading the return of service. I have inspected the town meeting warrant, and I have determined that it was properly executed by the Select Board and served by a constable of the town of Littleton. We are in session. As is customary, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I will ask you to rise as you are able and face the flag. We'll do the pledge, and then I will invite a young member of our community to sing the national anthem for us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And tonight we have Livy Stevens singing for us. Take it away.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight? Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
You may be seated. That's going to be good for several years. I have some preliminary matters to go through. As I said, I hope you have picked up a town meeting report. If you did not, bring yours along from home. Also, a green amendment sheet, as well as the clicker at the check-in table. Remember that non-voters may not address the body without the express permission of the town body and the town moderator, with the exception of town employees, town council, and consultants who are extensions of the town. Please note the emergency exits both at the front and the rear in the event of any need to use them. At this time, I would like to recognize a few persons, I think my list has 6 on it, that are leaving the employ or the service of the town due to retirement. First and foremost, Sue Raymond from EHS. Sue has been the face from the planning board and EHS for well over 17 years. It is now time for Sue and Dave to go and enjoy New Hampshire, sit back, and kick her feet up. Thank you, Sue. Superintendent of Schools Kelly Clenchy has graced the halls of Littleton for 15 years, believing that a collaboration of schools, residents, and the town will last a lifetime. While we say goodbye to him, this belief will live on. At this time, I ask the chairman of the school committee, Justin McCarthy, to say a word? Somewhere.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. It's my great pleasure and honor to bid farewell to Kelly Clenchy after 15 wonderful years of service here at Littleton. We are definitely a stronger district and a better town for the work that Kelly has put forward this evening. We have a certificate of recognition, Kelly, that is from the Select Board, signed by the members of the Select Board, so thank you very much. In recognition of your 15 years of dedicated service as superintendent of schools, thank you for your leadership, commitment, and lasting contributions to the community. Thank you. You are very welcome. And then I'm not gonna read these because we have an agenda to get to, but we also have 2 proclamations, one of which is from the state and one of which is from the Senate. We could read these at the school department retirement. How about that, over cake? So if everyone would please just join me in wishing Kelly a happy retirement and a round of applause this evening. And I'm sure Kelly wants to say something. I'd be willing to bet. So I would like the opportunity to pass the mic to Kelly real quick just to say thank you to everybody.
As long as he says Mr. Moderator before he begins his remarks.
Mr. Moderator, thank you so much. It's been an honor to serve as your superintendent for the last 15 years. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the community, the elected officials for their support, confidence, and their guidance that they provided during my time in Littleton. Littleton is an incredible community, one that I'm very proud to be part of. Littleton is special in so many ways. It's a can-do community, and I'm certainly going to miss being the superintendent, but I have to tell you, I am super excited about retiring. So thank you again for your support during the last 15 years, and I wish you the best.
Next, I'm going to recognize Chief Matthew Pinard, who recently retired on May 1st after moving up the ranks, and there is no further to go. Enjoy your scotch and your newfound freedom. Matthew Pinard.
So Chief Pinard had a different venue for this evening that he is attending, and so we are asking the new chief, to come forward and accept the accolades for him. Thank you.
Hello, there we go. Thank you, Chief Patterson, for accepting this on Matt Pinard's behalf. We have a Town of Littleton, Massachusetts proclamation from the Select Board, which I will not read in its entirety, but trust that it says many, many nice things that are well deserved. We also have a commendation. This one I am going to read out loud. From the Commonwealth of Massachusetts House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Chief Matthew Pinard in recognition of his retirement after 32 years of outstanding dedication and service in law enforcement, and to the town of Littleton. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. So, thanks very much.
Now let me turn your attention to Matthew Nordhaus, seated to my left, your right. After 2 terms, 6 years of service on the Select Board, Matt has decided not to seek re-election. He will continue to remain on the Housing Authority, which is an all-important position, and continues to be a challenging board, but he is well suited for it. He said thank you. This is so tricky since I'm new to town. I don't know anybody. Lucia Paciti.
Through the chair? Or through the moderator.
You want to say more? Oh.
Yeah. So we had some commendations for you, Matthew Nordhaus. You have served Littleton fully with your whole heart, and we appreciate everything you've done. You've brought a lot to the Select Board, and we will miss you very much. We have a certificate of recognition for service and dedication from us. And we have a commendation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, House of Representatives. And last but not least, we have a commendation from Jamie Eldridge and the rest of the good folks in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Senate. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next, I want to recognize Lucia Paciti, who recently retired in March from the Planning and Zoning Board of Appeals after 7.5 years, and whose smile was infectious. Lucia. And last on this list of retiring key town people, I guess we call them, former town moderator Timothy Goddard, who served this town as town moderator for nearly 20 years and served us well. His shoes will be difficult to fill. I'm already doing it with difficulty. For his dedication and determination to make our town meetings the best, even when he told his mother to have a seat, that her question was outside the 4 corners. Wouldn't we have all loved to be a fly on the wall that Thanksgiving dinner? Recognizing Tim Goddard. At this time, I'd like to bring up Assistant Town Administrator Tony Sousa to speak about the Civic Leadership Academy, which was in its inaugural year this year. Tonight, we are looking to recognize the 3 participants of the Academy and give Tony an opportunity to tell us about the Academy and those 3 participants.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and good evening, everyone. I'd love to recognize 3 special participants this year, being our inaugural year, 2026. The Civic Leadership Academy was done through the vision and support of the Select Board. And it's a 10-week, not a super intense program, I believe, but a 10-week program, very interesting, with so much contribution from the various departments and stakeholders in town. And I think, sitting alongside, I was also a learner myself, and it was great to share that experience with the 3 individuals. So I'd love to call them up and welcome our chair as well. And we have a little citation for each of you, and we'll take a nice group photo. Diane Ross, Priscilla Ip, and Shauna Hearn. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming. Thank you. And Mr. Moderator, if I may, just to promote, next fall, we will be doing the Academy once again, and welcome anyone who's interested. Please spread the word. Any residents welcome to submit an application and be more than welcome to have you join. Thank you.
Thanks for doing that, Tony. On to the business of town meeting. We will continue with a call of the articles, which was successfully introduced several years ago as a means of speeding up the passage of warrant articles which do not generate controversy and can be properly voted without debate, which allows us additional time to debate the other more significant articles in the warrant. Specifically, as one of the first orders of business at town meeting, the moderator will call out the numbers, titles of the articles one by one. Any voter who has doubts about passing a motion or wishes an explanation of any article simply should say the word "hold" in a loud voice when I call the article number. If the purpose of the question is brief, a question, then we might try to get an answer to that question. But if the purpose of the hold is to have an opportunity to debate that article, then that article will be removed from the call and restored to its original place on the warrant. Then the point of doing this is that we'll assemble a list of non-controversial articles that we can vote in one batch. And presumably it should be unanimous or nearly unanimous, but it doesn't need to be unanimous. These are things that require majority support, but we're confident that they can be done all in one fell swoop. Is that clear? Let me explain the rest of the ground rules before we get into that consent agenda. If presentations are to be given, an individual board or committee responsible for placing an article on the warrant is permitted 10 minutes once the main motion has been properly placed before the town meeting. Presentations in opposition to a warrant article may also be given 10 minutes, preferably one presenter. Then speakers will be invited to come to the microphone, and they will be alerted by a countdown on the screen telling them that their 3 minutes to speak is dwindling in real time. Speakers may only take one turn to speak to an article. In terms of the business of the evening, no new business, no new warrant article will be introduced after 10:30 p.m. We shouldn't have to worry about that, I hope. Unless the moderator believes we might complete all business by 11. So the contingency judgment I have to make at 10:30 if any of us are still here is this near the end? Everything in town meeting is about common courtesy. Please use the center microphone. Please speak to the public body through the town moderator. So you always address your remarks, Mr. Moderator, whatever you want to say. You do not direct remarks again toward any other person in the room. If there's a question in your remarks, the moderator can then redirect that question to someone who can answer it, because I don't have all the answers. You will stand at the microphone, wait to be recognized by the moderator. You begin your remarks by stating your own name and your address for the record. If you wish to propose an amendment to some motion that is under discussion, please use the yellow amendment sheet so that we have it in writing and can be accurately captured for the record. If you are standing in the queue to speak and your turn comes up and what you want to say is, I want to call the question, I want to stop continued discussion, I want to end debate, those have to be the first words out of your mouth in your turn. You can't get up make a statement, and close it by saying, "And now I wish to call the question." That's just rude. So you may propose to stop debate, and the people behind you in line are going to be a little bit disappointed if the room agrees with you. But it's up to the room to decide whether they've heard enough discussion and are ready to vote. And that's why a motion to close debate requires 2/3 majority. And it's really, we trust the room to decide. Unless the first person who gets up says, "I want to call the end of debate," and then the moderator says, "No, we haven't heard anything." Or even the second person, "We've only heard one side." So the moderator has some discretion to determine whether a request to end debate is appropriate. Voting will take place in, oh, I jumped over something, sorry. You must use the microphone. I have to remind you, you must get up and use the microphone. Do not shout from your seat, except for this hold business when I ask for holds. But if you have statements to make, you must come and stand at the microphone. You won't be able to make your point and call the article. I told you that. Town officials that are speaking as individuals should address the body as such. In other words, if someone comes and wants to give a personal statement as opposed to a statement coming from their office of expertise, they should be clear about where those words are coming from. Voting, as you already experienced, will be in 20-second intervals. If the public body feels that's too long, we can choose to reduce the time. Remember that you can continue to change your vote until the last request to finish voting. Each person's final vote is the one that counts. So you're only voting once, no matter how many times you click that clicker. At this time, I would like to take a moment to remember all those who passed away this year so that they remain in a special place in our hearts. Please remember also the following persons that our town report has been dedicated to. Bruce Barker, who embodied what law enforcement is all about, the youngest police chief in the town's history. Sharon Martell, a dedicated assistant parks and recreation director whose legacy left an indelible mark on all of us. Joseph Macumber, a dedicated LELWD commissioner for over 3 decades. James Ogilvie, a 17-year firefighter and 6-year fire chief in the late 1970s, early 1980s. Marge Payne, a devoted member of the Council on Aging, serving more than 4 decades and 11 consecutive years as chair. Jean Seward, a devoted member of the community with an impact that shaped generations of young lives and continues to enrich our community today. And Robert Stetson, a member of the Council on Aging for over 13 years and also a member of the clergy, who enriched lives every day by his true reflection of life. Moment of silence. Thank you. Now, before we dive in, I'm going to invite the chairman of the Finance Committee, Steve Venuti, to give this public body the financial overview before we take any official votes on warrant articles. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Excuse me. Stephen Venuti, Finance Committee. Good evening, everyone. We certainly have a lot to cover tonight. There are a lot of articles, financial articles, that we need to go over. So let's start right away here. First of all, Standard & Poor's once again this past February affirmed the town's AAA rating. This is the 13th year that has been done, and as you've heard me say before, this literally saves the town millions of dollars in interest costs. So this is a very good thing. I just want to bring your attention to that middle section where it says, the town possessed strong budgeting practices with conservative assumptions that the town consistently outperforms, with long-term financial and capital plans that are annually updated and tied to its assumptions, along with a comprehensive host of policies. We have policies, we follow them. You've heard me talk about conservative assumptions before when we talked about Shaker Lane, and that has served us well over these years. Let's get into the budget process itself. When town departments turned over their budgets to the town administrator's office back in the end of October, early November, we were in a deficit position of about $1.5 million. You can see that on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. By the time we got to a finalized budget in the first couple of weeks of April, we had cut $3.5 million in expenses out of the budget. Well, how do you cut $3.5 million out if we're only $1.5 million in the hole? It's because we got new information along the way in those last months that added $1.8 million to the budget. So we had our work cut out for us this year. And this was probably a tougher year to deal with than previous years when we had a larger deficit coming into this. It's getting harder and harder as we move forward to solve these deficit problems. Let's talk about Article 3. Article 3 is increasing by $1.9 million or 3% this year. But if you look at the details, the town budgets are actually decreasing from last year by $400,000. And the school department and the Neshoba Tech combined, their budgets are only increasing by $89,000, relatively staying flat. So where did this increase come from? If you look at the other items number, $2.2 million increase, or 12.71%, basically from two items. Debt service costs increased by $632,000. That was based on the debt service for the Center and Shattuck Street. We had delayed the issuance of that bond, and we're paying the extra principal costs this year. And the big nut is employee benefits, and we've all encountered this with our health insurance premiums. They've gone through the roof the past couple of years. Our health insurance increased by $850,000 this year, 12.24%. That's on top of a 20% increase that we had last year. So the base grew, and this 12% is on top of that bigger base. And because it's health insurance premium, it affects our OPEB funding. OPEB is other post-employment benefits. It's the town's guarantee to its employees, current employees, that we can provide them health insurance in retirement according to Mass General laws. As insurance premiums goes up, this liability also goes up, and that was $590,000. And this health insurance line covers not only town side employees, but school employees also. So it's the entire town that we're talking about. I can assure you, with a decrease in the town's budget and a relatively flat school budget, there is still, all the services that the town provides have not been touched. They're still there. No town employee was let go. No hours were cut either. It was just a lot of belt tightening by all the departments. And at this point, I'd like to thank the town administrator's office, the finance department, all our department heads in the school department for tightening those belts and making this budget work. So let's go through some of the articles, the asterisk numbers of the consent agenda items that the town moderator talked about. I'll go through them fairly quickly. The Water Enterprise Fund, the budget for FY27, $6.8 million. That's a decrease of $644,000 from the previous year. The Sewer Enterprise budget, Article 7, $2.4 million. This will be the first full year of operations for the sewer department. The facility on King Street just opened a couple of months ago. The town is still the biggest user of that sewer facility, and in Article 3 is a number of $1.2 million for the town's support for that. That number will stay large until more sewer users get hooked up to that system. We're augmenting that budget with $840,000 worth of sewer betterment revenues to control those costs somehow. Article 8, an adjustment to the FY26 sewer budget. They just mentioned the facility just opened a couple of months ago. Upon opening, they encountered some expenses that they weren't looking for, unanticipated expenses for $140,000 that are coming out of available funds to cover those expenses for this year. Article 9 is an appropriation for the water retained earnings for FY26, $1.9 million. That was basically an accounting error that happened back in FY25. We're correcting that appropriation mistake in the article with this adjustment in FY26. There's no money really being expended. Article 10, the appropriation of PFAS settlement funds, $1.2 million. That's the town's share of a settlement that the state had with PFAS companies that contributed to the PFAS problem. There are documents within those settlements that describe what the town can spend that money on, and the water department is looking for authorization to expend those monies in accordance with those documents for clean water. Article 15 is an appropriation from the ambulance receipts fund for $525,000 for the purchase of a new ambulance to replace a 2021 ambulance that is beyond its useful life. And this is a new strategy that we did a couple of years ago, where the actual receipts from the ambulance service are used to pay for ambulance moving forward. There's no impact to the town. It's paying cash for it. There's no debt service being accrued. It's not affecting the operating budget at all. Article 16 is an amendment of Article 20 from last year's town meeting. We purchased an ambulance. We authorized the purchase of an ambulance for $1.3 million. The cost of that ambulance is going to be coming in a little less than the 1.3. So we're taking $175,000 from that article, putting it back into the capital stabilization fund where we appropriated those dollars from, and that $175,000 will be able to be used for future capital purchases. Article 24, $1.8 million for the Community Preservation Fund. This is actually a two-pronged article. Part of the article talks about the receipts that the Community Preservation Fund receives. There's two of the biggest things are the 1% surcharge that we all pay in our tax bills for the CPC fund. And the second is, per the town's financial policy, is a match for that 1%, and that'll be in Article 23. It's actually $465,000. The second part of that article will be describing the projects that the CPC committee has already vetted and approved, and they're coming before town meeting for our approval. Next article, Article 12. Article 12 is a withdrawal. These are all stabilization fund withdrawals because they're specialized stabilization accounts. They only require a majority vote, not a 2/3 vote. Article 12 is a withdrawal from the School Building Stabilization Fund for $5,250,000. And this is actually a very good thing we're doing that. These are the funds that we've set aside over the past 3-4 years for the Shaker Lane project. The more money that we can put inside the levy towards this project decreases the tax burden that we're all going to face on this excluded debt that we voted back in October. I'll talk about Shaker Lane at the end, and I'll talk more about these stabilization funds that we're using. Article 13 is a withdrawal from the Capital Stabilization Fund for two purposes. First is to replace a 2012 fire engine for $1,381,000. We just said we approved a fire engine last year with appropriations. These fire engines take 2.5 years before we receive them. This is replacing a 2012 engine. We're not going to see this probably until 2029. So that engine is going to be old, and it's already undergoing several hundreds of dollars of repairs. Just to mention that we don't expend the money at all until we take delivery of these vehicles. So that's the ambulance and these fire engines also. Second piece is a $100,000 feasibility study for 37 Shattuck Street, the town offices. We've done feasibility studies on that building before. This will augment those studies with updated costs and basically look what it will cost to keep that building as town offices. We've had Elder and Human Services move out. We've had the school administration and Parks and Rec go to the King Street facility. We've had the library the past few years go to the new library across the parking lot. So there's very little department still remaining in that building, and it's a lot to maintain. We've already encountered a couple of $100,000 worth of bills because systems are going. We actually had to close Town Hall for a couple of days for similar issues a couple of months ago. So it's aging, and we need a study to see what the future of that building is going to be. Article 21 is a withdrawal from the Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund for $101,000. This is the strategy we've been using for the past 10 years or so. We use inside levy money to help augment the excluded debt for those 3 projects that are listed on the screen. This will continue for the next couple of years as those projects start to wind down and these numbers are getting lower. The next set of slides are from free cash. Article 11 is a deposit into the school building stabilization fund. So we're going to deposit the money in Article 11, take it out in Article 12 that I already talked about. This brings our total contribution, this $2 million we're putting in this year, brings our total contribution to $5.7 million into this fund. We're taking out $5,250,000. When we first talked about Shaker Lane, our original assumptions that we would have $6 million in that fund by FY28. We're 5.7 with another year to go. So chances are we're going to be very good with that goal that we had in mind. And again, the more we put into that with inside levy money, the less exposure the town has, the taxpayer has. Article 14, $1.6 million for funding capital items for the departments listed. Again, we're not borrowing anything for these capital items. We're using our free cash position. We haven't borrowed for capital items in several years, relieving the operating budget of that interest expense cost, allowing us to put those monies elsewhere. Article 19 is a deposit into the Capital Stabilization Fund for $876,000. This is in addition to that $175,000 that's going in that previous article about the fire engine I talked about. This money will be used for future capital purchases. Article 20 is a deposit to the Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund. So we're putting extra money in this year, so we'll have it available to fund those 3 projects again in the next couple of years, again, as those debt numbers start to wind out on that properties. Article 22, according to our financial policy, we annually do a deposit into our general stabilization fund for $100,000. And Article 23, as we talked about this with the CPC, this is the town's match to the 1% surcharge, $465,000. Free cash usage on these 2 slides, $5.4 million. No impact to the operating budget, no increased debt service at all, and we're still able to maintain our financial policy limitation of 7.5% of our operating budget in free cash moving forward for future years. Let's talk a little bit about the budget pressures. You see this slide every year. These numbers don't get any better. We still have deficits over the next 3 years. And as S&P said, we do make very conservative assumptions. But even with these conservative assumptions, it's getting harder and harder and harder to overcome them. Expenses, as they enter the operating budget, tend to increase and compound 4 to 5% per year. And revenues only increase by 2 to 3%. And you don't make a good budget with that dynamic between those 2 numbers. So what do? We need to increase our revenue stream, and there's something out on the horizon that we keep talking about at 550 King, at the old IBM site. There's a plan for those buildings to be built at some point in time. What exactly is going to be built? We don't exactly know right now. When is it going to be built? We still don't know exactly when it's going to be built, and we don't know the value of those properties once they are built. So because we don't really have a good idea of what's going to happen with those, we don't include it in any part of those assumptions that we present in the middle of the screen. So they're not there. Again, conservative nature of our assumptions. Let me just go through an example for the building and the construction at 550. If we see a building come around in 2027, a year from now, a year and a half from now, that's actually FY28. It doesn't hit the town's tax rolls until the classification hearing in November of 2028, which is actually FY29. So a building that we may be seeing in 2027 doesn't benefit the town until 2029. And the same thing if it was 2028, it would be 30, and so on like that. So we're going to see the bulk of the monies coming into the town probably in the 2030s. There will be something that's going to be happening in these last 2 years that we have on the screen, but still it's not going to be enough to move the needle for these deficits that we have. Let's talk a little about our forecasts moving forward. We have an average increase over the next 3 years of $3.5 million on the revenue side, and they're growing at 5%. And you can say, well, Steve, you just told me that revenues increased by 2 to 3%. What's this 5%? This includes Shaker Lane. We know that that project's moving forward. And if you look up at the tax levy line, you can see $58 to $65 million. That's the extra taxes that we'll all be paying to support that debt for that school. If we back that out, we're back down to that 2 to 3% revenue. Same thing on the expense side on the next slide. Jumping too far. Back. No. Believe me, there's some budget forecasts that we have here. On the expense side, we're looking at $6 million average increase at 8.66%. But again, that includes our Shaker Lane, the debt service. The debt service is going from $5 million to $8 million over that time period. If we back that out again, we're back to that 4 to 5% expense increase. Our capital budgets, still nothing. Our capital budgets, we ask our department heads to provide the town with a 3-year and a 10-year capital plan. Over the next 3 years, that plan shows $21 million in capital items. And we have the means right now within our free cash and capital stabilization funds to cover those items if we decide that they need to move forward. And we're probably around 95% certain that we can cover the entire $34 million over the 10-year period. Doesn't mean everything that the departments want is going to move forward, but we have the ability from our free cash and the way we've been handling that capital stabilization account. Next steps. No, it'll be before that. Issues over the next 3 to 5 years. We're talking about still those operational deficits that we have. We know about the Shaker Lane building that's coming. We still have a potential for a DPW facility. There's been absolutely no talk about this facility. There is no timeline. There is no location. But we just want to keep it on everybody's notice that there is a potential for this building to be built at some point in the future. And we have some type of increased revenue stream coming in from the capital, from the common redevelopment. We know about these items. we still need to spend smart, because any monies that we receive from 550 King and the old IBM site isn't going to be used for new money. It's not to fund new expenses. We need to cover the deficits that we have first and fund the departments that really tighten their belts this year, and we'll be looking for it for next year also. Shaker Lane, we're here? We are. Shaker Lane, we're just beginning the design process. This process is going to take a while, as you can see from the construction schedule. It's not due to start construction until July of 2027. There'll still be expenses along the way to pay the architect for the designs that they're doing. The building is looking to be completed in August of 2029, with the schools beginning the 29-30 school year at the new building. In the fall of 2029, the current building will be demolished. The town treasurer back in March borrowed $7.2 million toward this project to get us through the current fiscal year and FY27 through the design process. So that's $7 million plus the $5 million that we're looking to take out of the Capital Stabilization Fund should be enough to get us through FY27. And unless that construction schedule moves up slightly, the chances of having to borrow are probably a little slim in 27. We'll be looking to do something in 28, probably a very serious borrowing at that point in time. That borrowing that the treasurer did, $7.2 million, will affect tax bills in FY27. The average home increased to $770,000 this past year, FY26 values. And we're looking at that impact of the interest on that money to only be $38 impact on that $770,000 home. The next slide, we have it, okay. The next slide, presented back in October. We just have to concern ourselves with that right-hand column, that top number, $98 million. That is the project budget. That is set in stone. That will not be changed. $38 million looking for a grant position coming in from the MSBA, leaves the town's responsibility at just under $60 million. The next section has been updated with the increased amount that we're putting in this year into the stabilization fund. You can see Article 11 noted there for $2 billion. That'll bring the total amount that we're anticipating to be put into this project with inside levy dollars at $7.6 million. I mentioned our first estimates were $6 million. In October when we presented this, it was $7.1 million. We're up to $7.6 million now. And that's great news, because the more we can put aside there, the less that bond is going to be. And that bond is now down to $50.2 million. It was $50.7 million back in October. Let's talk about the tax impacts. When we presented this back in October, when we were approving the school, we were using FY25 values. This has been updated to FY26 values. And I already mentioned that the average home, single-family home, is now worth $770,000 in town. In FY25, that number was $690,000. So an $80,000 difference is well over 12%, which is a huge increase in a single year for the town, for values. It was a revaluation year, that's why. You can expect, as the average home value goes up, that these numbers should go up, but they didn't. They're basically the same in that first couple of years as they were back in October, because now the bond is less, and we're going to be paying less in interest on that bond now. First year, worst year, $719. It was $719.22 back in October. The big impact is over the 20-year period. Even with the increased values, that reduction in that cost of that bond has brought that number down. We're looking at right now an estimate of $11,600 on the average home of $770, or around $580 per year In October, that number on the 690,000 home was just under $12,000, $11,999, or $600 per year. So it's going down. As we get closer, the news is getting better. We keep adjusting these numbers as new information comes in. We haven't had the instance right now in working these numbers where they've gone up and gotten worse. So this is a very good thing that we're seeing. Graphically, the bold line there is the tax impact over the 20 years. Starts out at that $719 and goes down to $490 in the year 20. And you can see the increments there. The tax calculator on the town's website has been updated to include the FY26 values. So you can take this tax bill that we just paid in May, go to the town's website, enter the value of your parcel, and you can see the actual estimated tax impact that you'll be facing. And while we have an audience here, there will be a community forum next Tuesday night at the center in Shattuck Street from 6 to 8 p.m. It's an interactive workshop to discuss the design options available for the town for the building. We hope everybody will be able to attend. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the time.
Thank you, Steve. That was a lot of information to absorb. I hope you're going to hold on to the bits and pieces because they refer to so many of the warrant articles, either ones that we're going to move quickly through on the consent agenda or the ones that we will debate later on the regular warrant. So now I'm going to ask for you to consider the items that have been proposed for the consent agenda. Where do we see those? Where do they see them? We'll go through them. Great. So first, let me point out, among the 31 articles, 3 of them will have no affirmative action taken on them. There won't be a motion. In article number 2, should I read what that one is? Bills of prior years. There will be no motion proposed for Article 26. That was the private roads article. And there will be no motion proposed for the citizens' petition to amend reporting requirements for Parks and Rec, Article 31. So 2, 26, and 31 we will pass over when we get to them in the warrants. For the consent calendar, we had this great meeting last week where we looked at all of the articles and tried to determine which ones are really not controversial and ought to just fly through. And that's a little bit of crystal ball work. So this is the moment when we test the reality of those predictions. If you feel when I read one of these articles that it should be held, say hold, and I'll ask, do you just have a specific question, or do you want us to hold it, take it out of the consent agenda so it can be debated fully? And I'll need you to respond to that question when you say hold. All right? So I'm going to go one by one through them, and if I hear nothing, it's remaining on the consent agenda so we can vote it in the batch. So, first consent agenda item would be Article 1, the annual report. Silence is golden. Article 4, this is the fiscal year 2027 CTV receipts reserved for appropriation from the Public Education and Government Access Fund. Oh, you have to look over there in the other room for me too, just in case. No holds. Article 5, fiscal year 2027 departmental revolving funds. Okay. Article 6, fiscal year 2027 Water Enterprise Fund operating budget. Smooth sailing. Article 7, fiscal year 2027 Sewer Enterprise Fund operating budget. We have a hold. Is there a question? Are you going to want to debate this? Depends on the answer to the question. Stand up and you're conveniently located. State your question so everyone can hear it.
My question relates to user charges, fees, and other revenue sources in the fiscal 27 budget. My question is, why is it decreased by 500,000? And also, am I correct that about 80% of what's shown here as revenue is actually expenses of the town departments, and therefore comes from tax revenue?
And I should have asked you to state your name.
It's 2A Matthew Drive.
Thank you. Is Nick Lawler or someone prepared to answer that? Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, Nick Lawler, General Manager of Littleton Electric Light and Water Departments. That number is decreasing every year as we add, I think Steve said, as we bring on new customers. We're building up the betterment account to fully pay for those expenses, but until we get a flush betterment account and we get more users online, the town is still subsidizing part of that operations. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that answer satisfactory enough to leave it in the consent agenda? Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Article 8. Oh, there's another person approaching the...
Hello, my name is Emily. I think, Mr. Moderator, I might be cutting, but I was here for Article 26.
Oh,
do you want me to
Article
wait?
20.
But I know it got pushed.
Yeah.
My question was relating to why it got pushed and when it will be readdressed.
So I'm going to go ahead with the consent agenda right now, but we've registered.
So do you want me to wait until 26 to re-ask? I'll be patient.
You shouldn't have to wait until 26, but after the voting on the consent agenda.
Okay, so wait.
Try to address that question.
All right, I'll wait.
We're working on which items go in the consent agenda still. And 26 was never going to be one of those. Article 8 is amend fiscal year 2026 sewer enterprise operating budget. Hold. Is that a question? Would you like to ask your question? Your name is Charlotte.
Charlotte Russell, 73 Foster Street. Mr. Venuti mentioned that the difference there is due to unanticipated expenses upon opening. I'd just like to know what those are.
Mr. Venuti, do you want to? Oh,
Yeah.
Nick, thank you.
Yeah,
I didn't see you coming.
I don't think Steve wants to answer that question.
Great.
We had a couple different things that happened this winter. Number one, it took a little bit longer to get the plant online, so we were running both plants simultaneously. We had a very cold winter, and the heat in there is done by natural gas. Chemicals during startup, the startup process for that plant was extremely difficult, and we used more chemicals than we were anticipating. The $140,000 comes from the Sewer Enterprise Fund. That's where the funds are coming from. So there is no impact on taxes with that transfer. Thank you.
We're set. We can leave that in the consent agenda. Article 9, appropriation of the water retained earnings. Good, no hold. Article 10, appropriation of PFAS settlement funds. No hold. Article 11, school building stabilization fund. We're good, no hold. Article, jump down to 17. Rescind authorized unissued debt. No concerns there. Jump to 19, Capital Stabilization Fund. You folks have been good town meeting attendees. You don't have concerns and questions about the things that really are, they happen every year. That's great to see. Article 20, Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund. Okay. Article 21, Use of Debt Exclusion Stabilization Fund for fiscal year 2027 excluded debt. No hold. And Article 22, Transfer into Stabilization Fund. I think that brings me to the end of the proposed consent calendar articles. Don't have my script. Here it is. So let me just remind you, these are articles that have been typically on consent calendar in the past. They're not controversial. We went through one by one to make sure you're comfortable voting on them in a batch. It's nice if this turns out to be a unanimous vote, but it isn't necessary to be a unanimous vote. It just needs to be a majority vote. Prepare to vote on the whole raft of consent agenda article items. And the timer is started. Use your clickers. See if you can do it in 20 seconds. It's the most efficient work you're going to do in your lifetime. Okay, did people get a chance to vote? We're going to close the voting. Excellent. It looks like the consent agenda has passed with a comfortable 97% support, something like that. Thank you very much. So the town clerk is reminding me that it would be good when you vote to see if you're seeing a little signal or light at the top to make sure your clicker is functioning properly. And it's a test opportunity now just to practice that and see.
Your clickers should all say okay on it if they're working.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Let me climb into this warrant. Article 3. Ha! Very nice. This is the budget. Yes, the consent agenda passed by 97%. I think I alluded to that, but just in case there was any uncertainty. We declare it a vote. See, I haven't been town moderator in maybe a dozen years. 2015. Thank you. We declare it a vote. Let me write that down. Now, having practiced those muscles of hold on items that you want further discussion or analysis about. We're going to look at the fiscal year 2027 operating budget. And this contains many different pieces. So we're reminded that the Finance Committee has prepared and moved and seconded this budget as printed in the warrant. They recommend that you vote for it. And what I would like to do is leaf through the budget Does Steve need to say more? I bet I had a chart that told me that. Yes, thank you. Let's have a presentation of the So we don't need a preliminary presentation. I'm learning. So the first major heading is general government. Does anyone want to hold on? Wow, that's a lot of reading. Within general government, town report, town meeting, 45,000 is recommended. I hear a hold. Moderator, 100. It's not coming to me. Selectmen, total 26,300. Town administrator, 498,385. Finance committee, 1,900. Reserve fund, 295,000. Town accountant, 361,214. Audit, 0. There's a hold. Okay. Assessor, 365,854. Not yet. We're not going to deal with it yet. We're just getting the list. And then, as before, we're going to vote on all of the things that weren't complicated in a batch, and then we'll deal with the holds one by one. There was not a hold on assessor, correct? Thank you. Treasurer, 429,349. Tax collector, 137,659. Town council, 280,000. Human resources, 442,857. Information systems, 778,766. Tax title, 16,000. Town clerk, 210,865. Elections and registrations, 63,400. Excuse me. Hold on elections and registrations. Conservation Commission, 167,164. Planning Board, 241,209. Appeals Board, 300. Land Use, 0. Do I move on to the next major section? Just keep going. Okay. Still asking if any items need a hold. Public safety is the category. Police, 3,232,669. That's a hold. You'll have to shout your holds up sometimes. Make sure I hear them. Fire EMS, 3,065,415. Dispatch, 768,268. Building, 427,873. Emergency management, 5,000. Crossing guards, 0. Canine control, 37,378. Okay, so we had one hold in that subsection. Public Works, DPW, 1,113,189. Roadway repairs, 945,000. Parks, 321,938. Snow and ice, 200,000. That's a hold. Transfer station, 466,783. That's a hold. Street lighting, 19,000. Not a hold, right? Sustainability Committee, 2,000. Clean Lakes, 0. B&M Crossing, 3,100. Landfill closure, 120,000. Cemetery Department, 213,916. So we had two holds in that previous section, Public Works. Health and Human Services sections, Health Department, 226,351. Neshoba Associated Board of Health, 0. Animal Inspector, 0. Nursing Services, 0. Mental Health Services, 0. Elder and Human Services, 520,668. Veterans Agent, 33,652. Veterans Benefits, 130,000. Disability Commission, 1,200. There were no holds in the Health and Human Services category. Culture and Recreation, Reuben Hoare Library, 974,324. Parks and Recreation, 252,594. Patriots Day, 0. Memorial Day, 1250. Historical Commission, 4480. Cultural Council, 5600. Shade Tree Committee, 5,000. So there were no holds in Cultural and Recreation. Other General Government, Municipal Building Committee, 700. Public Buildings, 1,171,360. Property and Liability Insurance, 600,000. Central Communications, 110,000. Fuel, 177,000. Is that a hold? Hold on fuel. Education, Littleton School Department, $26,519,402. Technical school expenditures, $860,905. No holds in the education section. Employee benefits, 11 million. Employee retiree benefits, 11,814,480. Debt service, total debt service, 4,309,273. Transfers, total transfers into general fund, can I do it as a total? Yeah. 926,231. That's a negative number. Transfers out of the general fund, 3,339,660. So transfers in were negative because we're paying in. So fund has dropped. Now I've gone through the whole list. Tell me how this works. Do we vote on everything right now that we didn't hold? Go through the holds and then vote on the package. Okay. Yeah. So if you had a hold, now's the time when you're going to step forth. No. Town meeting. 45,000 town report, town meeting. Is that you, Charlotte?
It is. Charlotte Russell, 73 Foster Street. Town report expense, I'm sure it's warranted, but I'd like an appropriate person to speak to the significant increase.
Okay. This resident's observing the increase since last year for the town report. Who would like to field that?
Sure. The reason for the increase on that is we added daycare expenses to it to offer the daycare in the other room, and it's an estimated cost for this year to see how it goes. So that was a $10,000 increase.
That means we can put it back into the budget as a whole. Question was answered. Excellent. Next is the audit zero.
George Sanders, 672 Gray Road. I want to know why the town is auditing itself. Why we don't have someone auditing the town to make sure that things are in place, because before we had a problem in this town with money. So I want to know who's auditing the books.
You're suspicious of the zero.
Hello? George, the audit line is now in the accounting line. We probably should have just deleted that, but we do have an audit every year, and they're posted online.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Elections and registrations.
No, you go.
This was the 63,400.
Well, this is Charlotte Russell from 73 Foster Street again, but I think there was also a hold on the assessor. Mine is on the elections and registrations.
I didn't hear one on the assessor. We had the audit.
Okay. So same thing on elections and registrations. Could someone explain the difference in expenses?
Diane Crory, Town Clerk. Every even year we have extra elections. So this year we have an primary in September and then an election in November. So you'll see that fluctuate every other year. So that's what happens.
Thank you. I won't ask again in 2 years.
Okay.
I think we jumped to snow and ice. Oh, how could I do that? Oh, it's because it's at the bottom of the page and I covered it with my hand. The police number. There you go. Thank you for being so patient.
Hi, so I have a concern about the budget, police budget, and probably a proposal amendment. I'm really concerned about the flock cameras that were contracted and approved by the Littleton Light and Water Department last June and then passed off to the police department. This AI is a pretty rapidly moving technology that our town has no experience in, expertise, and it requires public input, public comment, and public awareness before any decision is made. These automatic license plate registration recognition scans records and stores your license plate number, the color of your car, the make of your car, features like roof racks and bumper stickers.
So you're asking a question about the expenditure?
Yeah, and I'm making a statement about it, and I'm gonna get to my question about it. Unlike traditional CCT cameras, which just are general recordings, these AI systems basically create a searchable database of vehicle movements. The town has not opted into the national database. These cameras have been used in places like Minnesota, and we've all seen the horrors that have unfolded there, of the abuse of their use. And this raises a lot of civil rights concerns that I have. And again, the Board of Select was not made aware of this vote. I'm concerned why Littleton Water Department made a vote about public safety. That is not their mission, that is not their purpose. They are way out of their lane. And basically, you know, we have a very tight budget, and so I'm wondering why this, you know, it's $15,000 for 2 years. There's a DOJ grant, Department of Justice grant, that's paying for the first year, and then we, the taxpayers, need to pick up the next $15,000, and I'm just very concerned that we have brought in a government surveillance system into our town with no guidance, no policy, there's no laws or guidance at the national level.
And I just want to know, are you asking a factual question, is 15,000 in this
and so I'm just gonna
budget,
cut to my chase. So I'm asking for an amendment to the police budget to remove the $15,000 that the taxpayer is gonna have to fund for these systems. I was not made aware of this surveillance system, and I don't want to pay to be surveilled. I don't live in China because I want to live here. I don't want to live in a surveillance country. This isn't about public safety, right? It's about democracy and awareness and people in town having a say in how this technology is used. This is our first entree into AI. It wasn't like AI to make our town government simple and fast.
I think I've got your point.
Yep.
So the first thing I want to confirm is there a line item that reflects this concern in that budget? Mm-hmm. And is the 15,000 the accurate number? What is the accurate number?
17.5.
17.5. Thank you. There's been a proposed amendment to the budget that would require a second. Is it clear to everybody? I don't have it in writing in front of me, but it would be helpful. But the gist of the amendment was to remove the 17,500 line item from the... I'm just getting the motion on the floor so that it can be discussed. Is that clear?
And I would like the town, this to be, you know, put on hold so we can have a town discussion about it.
I hear that, but we're dealing with the budget right now, so we're going to stay close to that. So there's been a motion to amend, which has been seconded, and now the floor will be open for comments on the proposed amendment. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the floor is open now. You could step aside so that other people can approach the microphone who wish to speak.
Mr. Moderator, I just want to correct a few false statements there. The Littleton Water Department did not approve this, the Littleton Electric Department, and it was done through a public safety grant that we do year over year over year over year. And any contract that was signed would have been signed by the chief of police and not through us. So we didn't execute any contracts. The Water Department didn't fund this, and just a couple misstatements from the previous speaker.
Thank you. Who would like to speak next?
Mr. Moderator, Jeff Patterson, Chief of Police, recent. It's my understanding the first year of this and the installation of the cameras was paid for through the grant. The planning from the former chief was not to have this put into the budget, it's to have it paid for through DEA funds. We've had Detective Sergeant Fernandez working with the DEA task force for the past 2.5 years, and through that we received funds from the DEA. That's his plan that was in place in order to pay for these, not within the budget.
Just to be clear, are you speaking for or against that amendment? Chief? So is your statement a statement in favor or opposed to the proposed amendment?
I would not be in favor of removing the 17.5.
Thank you, just to be clear. Anyone else want to speak on this item, this proposed amendment? Here comes someone.
Jared Opioid, New Estate Road. The first question, are there flock cameras in town? There are. There's, you say 6 of them? Well, I think there's been a lot of concerns you've seen in the press over how these things have been used and in some cases abused. So I think it's a shock to me that these things have shown up that I haven't seen or heard much about any debate or any public input on them. So I think it's people are concerned about this as intrusive surveillance.
Thank you. Are people ready to vote on the proposed amendment, which would be to remove one light item from the police? I recognize Ms. Morrison when she turns on.
Still trying. There we go. I just wanted to note that on the agenda for Monday's select board meeting, we will be discussing a policy, an interim policy for the use of the flock cameras. There will be time for public input. I guess my only other comment is that regardless of where we stand on flock cameras individually, we do have a signed contract at this point. And so it would be my preference that we address concerns with the flock camera through that public discourse and through that use policy. Do we want to use it or not? Rather than through a contract where, you know, we don't know what the ramifications are if we don't have funding for that contract. It is on the agenda for Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. And there's another speaker.
Mr. Moderator, might I say that if the desired forum is through public debate, that public debate should have been had before the signing of a contract. Thank you. I would obviously speak in support of the amendment, and I would like you to be very clear what a yes vote implies and a no vote.
I know my job.
Thank you so much. I had no implication otherwise. It was slightly unclear to me, so I would very much appreciate you making it clear. Thank you.
They were asking for you to state your name and address, just for the record.
Thank you, of course. Fiona Plowes, Whitcomb Avenue.
Thank you.
I'm Joanne Deary from Harwood Avenue, and I really don't like the idea of these cameras. And what I want to know is if town meeting tonight votes and approves removing the $17,005 from the budget, does that mean the cameras will be gone?
I believe all we can do here is vote to approve our town's proposed expenditures for the coming year. The consequences of not approving some expenditures are going to depend on the nature of those expenditures and whatever else follows from that. But the only action we can take is to approve or not approve the budget.
Thank you.
Cheryl Cowley Hollinger, 44 Tehadawin. I would spend a lot of money to break this contract. I feel strongly about that, and I think that it should have been public forum, and we should have made this decision as a town, and we didn't. I don't know who signed that contract, but I think it's in our best interest to vote not to vote the 17,500, even if it doesn't change things, but sends a message. Thank you.
Ms. Morrison.
Here we go. I just want to address the public comment. The select board is offering public comment as soon as we could on this. This is when we found out, roughly. So this was a grant that did not go through the select board.
People are ready to vote on the amendment. This would be a vote. Yes means that 17,500 of the proposed police budget attached to that, I can't remember what the name of the thing is, flock camera contract, would be taken out of the budget that we will still have to continue to discuss and ultimately have a vote on. So you're just voting to amend what the budget contains in it. Is that clear? A yes means you remove that line item and its associated $17,500 of expenditure. And a vote no means you leave that line item in the budget, which we will continue to discuss and ultimately have to vote to approve. Clear? Use your clickers to vote on this amendment. 20 seconds. We're just about there. Everyone's voted. It's like waiting for the last piece of popcorn. Okay, the voting is closed. The amendment passes. I assume we can continue. There weren't other concerns about the police budget. Very good. The next hold item was snow and ice.
My name is Derek DeLorenzo. I'm from 8 Green Needles Road. My question is, since there seems to be an interest in reducing the services provided by snow and ice in the near future, I'd be curious to better understand how the $200,000 budget is spent and how it is utilized from year to year.
Who would like to answer that question? Oh, okay. We've got only one central mic in this big room.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Moderator. Stephen Yanley, Director of Public Works. The $200,000 is the standard budget for snow and ice here in town that covers overtime, de-icing materials, repairs to snow removal vehicles, as well as snowplow contractors.
Thank you. Did that answer the question? It didn't sound like there's a proposed change in service.
No, but it's coming. The question though is, my concern with the 200,000 is that we're hearing that the answer is not actually, that this budget is not actually 200,000, that it does fluctuate.
Well, winters fluctuate here.
But I guess, well, it's always been 200,000, it's only 200,000, it's good to know.
Let me remind everybody, a budgeting is a prediction exercise. We do the best we can based on past experience and future portents of what may be coming, and we trust our finance committee to come up with an estimate that will work. Go ahead.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Moderator, through you. Snow and ice is the one line item in budgets that is allowed to be spent in the red. So typically, towns tend to under budget and then deficit spend. Annually, I'm in front of the board for authorization for deficit spending.
Yep.
So we go north of 200,000 every year.
Does that take care of snow and ice? You want to speak on this one?
Yeah, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I sent a letter to the select board with regards to item 26. And in this snow and ice budget here, I suggested to the select board that with regards to the private plowing, salt and sanding, the private streets in the town here, I thought they acted hasty by wanting to undo that and not give the resident the opportunity to sit down with the select board.
I'm gonna interrupt you here with great respect, but because item 26 no longer has a motion coming, I think that the select board is taking under advisement the sentiment of the letter that you expressed, and that's gonna get further consideration before it comes forward to a town meeting.
Okay, I would just like to add one thing here. I would like to know from the select board, are you going to give the DPW extra money to plow on the snow and salt and sanding for this fiscal year that's coming?
The community member wants to know from the select board if they can foresee the authorizations that they're going to make about as needed is the answer.
Say again?
They will as needed.
Okay.
There'll be no change from what we did this year, which was to spend what we need to spend and then ask for the deficit to be covered the following year.
Thank you, because the people are entitled to that.
Thank you. Also on snow and ice?
Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the reasons we deliberately under budget that is if we were to budget to cover expenses without deficit, we're locked into that money going forward forever.
Is that an answer, a question to the select board? Yeah.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Right. Okay, I think we've exhausted snow and ice. Transfer station, who had the question? Charlotte Russell.
Yeah, me again, 73 Foster Street. Since the overall budget for the transfer station went down, I'm curious as to why the bag fees and some of the sticker fees went up.
Is that a question or just an observation?
I'd like to know why, so it's a question to
Thank you.
appropriate.
You might need to take a seat closer to the microphone.
Sit over here, sorry. Again, Stephen Yonley, Director of Public Works, through you, Mr. Moderator. What we did, we took a hard look at the budget for the transfer station this year. And what we did was we really based the spending on actuals. It seemed that the disposal lines had been over budgeted for the past few years, so we ended up with a surplus in the transfer station. That is the reduction. The fee hearing for the transfer station, excuse me, is this coming Monday, so no fees are set. The proposal is to go up on some stickers and bags, and again, those cover actual disposal costs, so we just ratcheted back the disposal lines based on actuals.
Thank you. Budgetary predictions based on data. That's a good idea. Moving on, I don't see any hold on this pair of pages. We made it all the way to fuel. Who had the fuel question?
Amy Tarlow Lewis at 3 Omega Way. I noticed that the fuel line item had dropped this year, and I'm unsure why it dropped when fuel prices are just like skyrocketing and we have to fuel our fire trucks, our EMTs, and our police, who are the most critical services in town. Like, are we just gonna burn through that budget? Like, why did it decrease? Why didn't it increase? That's my question.
Thank you.
Robin Healy, Finance Director. We decreased that line with looking at actual expenses that went out the door, and we feel like the 177 is a comfortable number.
Still speaking on fuel?
Yes, and this, really the question is, this fuel price spike came, no doubt, after you set the budget line item. What happened, you know, is it likely that the town is gonna, because they're spending more for the same number of gallons, where's the extra money gonna come from?
So I think the question is the Finance Committee still comfortable with this amount?
I think we'll be fine.
Okay. I believe we've addressed all the holds in the budget. This is magnificent, by the way. In my town, all those years ago, the whole $16 million budget, or whatever it was, would get proposed, not discussed, and approved in 3 minutes. And nobody understood anything about how the town functioned. I want to congratulate Littleton on caring enough to understand all of these items. Thank you. So now the motion before you is the budget as amended. Recall that an amendment was proposed and was approved by this body earlier tonight. So the budget that you're voting on now is the whole budget that was presented minus that one light item. A yes vote is to approve this amended budget. A no vote is not to approve the budget, to reject that budget. You ready? Start voting. I want to get up to 140 people. Are you going to make it? Is everyone's voting? Maybe someone stepped out. I'm going to close the voting. Voting is closed. Congratulations, you have approved an amended budget. That brings us all the way up to Article 12. Leaf through your town report. Use of School Building Stabilization Fund for fiscal year 27. This is an item that requires 2/3 for approval. Oh, just said so in my form. Oh, the stabilization, give us the little blurb on stabilization funds and how and why they do or do not require more than a majority vote. Recognize the town council.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Tom Harrington, Town Council. So there was a recent change in the law that allows us now to put money in and take money out of special purpose stabilization funds by majority vote. So we're no longer doing the 2/3 vote on the special purpose stabilization funds.
There are new things under the sun. Thank you for that explanation. So this will only require a majority. Does anyone need to present it? We heard about it from the finance overview. Is there any discussion? Seeing nobody recklessly stumbling towards the microphone, I think we may be ready for a vote. So for the warrant, Article 12, use of school building stabilization fund for fiscal year 2027, please prepare to vote. And you may begin in the next 20 seconds. Cast your votes. Two seconds left. We're going to make it. Voting is closed. We have an overwhelming approval for Article 12. What am I supposed to say? I can declare a vote? I so declare. I'll get it. I should have said that before. Okay, Article 13. This is, let me call your attention to the fact that there was a correction on the green sheet. And the wording in the pre-printed program said $100,000 under number 2 inside the article. And wording should read up to 100,000. Yeah, I won't make that mistake again. This is another majority vote only because it's a special purpose stabilization fund, as I just learned. Does anyone need to present anything in addition to what we heard from the finance overview? No. You all remember that, right? Excellent. I can't believe this. What a well-trained citizenry. Go ahead, if you'd like to speak to this warrant Article 13.
Charles Howe, 564 Newtown Road. I got one question and one comment. On the fire engine, I know we need the fire engine, and I'm not against the fire engine. I would like information though from the Sustainability Committee, because I know at the last meeting we voted to follow the state guidelines for zero carbon emission footprint, and I believe in 2032 or 35, the state is no longer allow you to have diesel vehicles. So I would like to hear something from the Stabilization Committee, what they think about that, since this is going against their forum. And then I have a question on part 2 after that.
You want an answer to the first question?
Yeah, I just want to get an idea from them what they think about us buying a vehicle that's going against their charter, I guess would be the way of putting it.
Who would like to respond? Yeah, please do.
Mr. Moderator, I do believe there is an exemption that exists within the state law for emergency apparatus.
Right, so an emergency vehicle is not subject to the same requirements.
Right, thank you.
You had a comment as well that you wanted to make.
Nope, I want to, I got a, whoops.
You wanted to ask about the 100,000.
Yeah, the $100,000. The last meeting we had at the special town meeting, the Board of Selectmen brought up selling the Shattuck Street building. That was turned down by the town. So I'm wondering why we're spending $100,000 for a feasibility study. I think we should just take that $100,000, use it to fix up the town hall, and stop doing these feasibility studies and wasting our money. So I'd like to propose an amendment to wipe out pretty much to fund the feasibility study to identify redevelopment options at 37 Shattuck Street, include about unlimited, and make it just $100,000 to maintain town hall operations.
Can you submit the proposed amendment in writing?
I can cross it off on this and bring it up to you if I get a pen from somebody.
You want to strike language. Once I know what the amendment really is, I will ask if there's a second. The proposed amended language for Part 2 under Article 13 that has just been offered is to strike the long phrase in the middle so that the number 2 would just read, up to $100,000 to fund, no, up to $100,000 to maintain town hall operations. Is that clear? Is there a second? All right, there's an amendment that has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion of this proposed amendment? Yes, Ms. Morrison.
Mr. Moderator, the $100,000 in question, or up to $100,000 in question, is going to go to a space needs study that needs augmenting that was done in 2021. That work that was done in 2021 focused on what do our departments need to operate effectively. However, that study did not include cost estimates. So today we need to get a clear understanding of what it will cost, or what to determine what the best path forward is. With all due respect regarding spending $100,000 towards repairs, I believe that we have already spent quite a lot this past year for a failed fire panel, among other things. Although there was a vote regarding a more comprehensive scheme to deal with Town Hall, that doesn't change the fact that Town Hall is in the state that it's in. And so in order to be able to address the reality of our current Town Hall, we need to be able to gather the facts. There have been several major changes since 2021. PRCE and the school administration have moved to King Street. Council on Aging is relocated to the new senior center. And these changes will reduce the footprint and shift how the town hall functions. So we're not starting over with this feasibility study. We're getting the cost estimates so that we can all together make an informed decision about what to do with Town Hall. Thank you.
So you're speaking in opposition to the proposed amendment?
Yes.
Just to be clear. Yes, speaking to the amendment.
Speaking to the amendment. George Sanders, 672 Great Road. What is it costing the town right now in maintaining 37 Shattuck Street? As far as the maintenance costs go, what is it costing the town?
Annually. Anyone prepared to answer that question? No.
Okay. Well then, if we're going to do the feasibility study, I would like to make sure that the town make it known to the citizens of this town when you're going to have public hearings on that matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Morrison.
Mr. Moderator, confirming
there will be more discussion on this, but in order to have that discussion, an informed discussion, we need to have the facts. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Janine Wood, 12 Christina Street. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to speak against the proposed amendment. I would like to applaud bringing forward money to be used on feasibility studies and paying experts to give us an informed and educated understanding of an issue. I think that merely throwing money at something as complicated as our current town hall is ill-advised.
Thank you. Speaking to the amendment.
Yes. Erica Pudgorny, 6 Fox Lane. I'd also like to speak against the amendment. We did a feasibility study years ago when the library was looking at what the best idea was for them, and that said that fixing up Shattuck Street wasn't worth it. It was done again for the senior center, and they said then that throwing more money into Shattuck Street wasn't worth it. We need a feasibility study to find out where to go from here. We don't need to throw more money into a building that we know is not worth it anymore.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Linda Stein, New Estate Road. I feel like the way this is worded goes against what the town voted last time, that the town voted not to sell this building. And the way this is worded, it opens up options, any options, even ones that were rejected by the town previously. So I think either it should be reworded to do a feasibility study to assess the maintenance needs of 37 Shattuck Street, but redevelopment options could be anything, even things that we've already rejected. So I don't think the wording is correct.
Either you're speaking in favor of the amendment, which would strike all of that description, or you're trying to propose another amendment, which you cannot do at this moment. But you can hold that thought, depending on what goes on next.
Darrell Baker, Gristmill Road. I'm here to speak against the amendment, but for a different reason here. Part of me wants to chastise the town officials for not properly presenting this in words that people understand what you're actually proposing to do, and it being kind of sprung on town meeting. But at the same time, I've been tracking this issue for many years, watching the various proposals that have been proposed for the use of town hall and the renovations necessary from it. Some of the estimates range from $5 to $12 million in order to bring the building up to code. Some of those simple facts before presenting this would have clarified these issues before this body. So I speak against the amendment and in a way, and also chastise the town officials for not properly presenting the material prior to the discussion and introduction of this bill.
Thank you. Are we ready to vote on the proposed amendment? I will read it again. This would replace the wording in number 2 on your green sheet version of Article 13. Part 2 would now just read, if the amendment passes, it would read, up to $100,000 to maintain town hall operations. And it would strike the rest of that feasibility study language. So a yes vote, we're moving towards a vote. A yes vote is in approving that new replacement language, and a no vote would leave the wording unchanged, and we would still need to go back to vote on the warrant as a whole. So this is just a vote on the amended language proposal. Go ahead and use your clickers. Yes for the amendment, or no, do not change that language. Okay, I think we're ready to close the voting. The amendment fails we resume discussion of the warrant article as a whole. Are there any other comments before we move to vote on the warrant article as a whole? Okay, then let's move to vote. Now you're voting on the green sheet language that you were given tonight for Article 13. The vote counter is ready. Go ahead and use your clickers. You're voting on everything in Article 13 all at once. Your clickers are working, right? People are wrestling with them. I think we got it. The vote is closed, and the main motion passes. Congratulations. Article 14. Fiscal year 2027 capital items from available funds, and there's a nice table with a whole bunch of items listed in it. Does anyone want to speak about anything in this warrant article? Are people ready to vote? I can sense that the energy level is starting to... You were girded up for 26, and that's so disappointing you're starting to lose your energy. Come on, we can do this. If no one's interested in speaking, we'll move to a vote on Article 14. Are you ready? Use your clickers. The 20-second timer has started. People are already done, and we didn't even use up our 20 seconds. Oh no, there's a couple more. All right, I'm closing the vote. We had I declare a clear approval vote for Article 14. Congratulations. Article 15, ambulance vehicle replacement, $525,000. This is why we didn't put it on the consent agenda. Does anyone want to discuss anything to do with Article 15? No, we have momentum. We want to vote. People are ready to click, click, click the rest of the night away. Okay. Prepared to receive your votes? Go. Article 15. We might have to revise our thing to 15 seconds because you're getting way too fast. I'll close the vote. Another clear approval. I declare the vote yes by a wide margin. Article 16, rescind and reallocate funding from prior town meeting articles. You got to read this one yourselves. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Is there discussion in Article 16? Oh, I saw a person moving across the back. I thought for sure we had a speaker. Nope. All right, we're ready to vote. Article 16. Prepared to receive your clickers. Article 16. Go ahead and vote. That was a stagger start. You need all 20 seconds. I'll give you an extra 3 seconds. Okay, close the vote. Whoa, 106 to 1. I declare that vote is approved for Article 16. I still am not using the right words, I'm sure. Jump to Article 18. Classification and compensation plans. Was that in Steve's presentation? That was tonight, wasn't it? We're still there, right? Article 16. Is there any discussion? Psh, I did 16. I had a flashback. We're on 18. Is there any discussion? When I was 16, 18 seemed really different. Now, not so much. We're ready to vote. Okay, prepare to use your clickers on Article 18. Do you vote yes or no? Classification, compensation plans. Two-second warning. Close the vote. It approved by another lopsided majority, 112 to 7. I declare the vote yes. I see the light coming at the end of the tunnel. Article 23 is next. Aren't you thankful that we did the consent agenda? Town matching funds to Community Preservation Fund. This is the article where we put the money in. We put in the matching funds. Any discussion about this? We're ready to vote. Are you ready to receive the vote? Go for it. Cast your votes. Article 23. They really don't need the 20 seconds anymore. They're anxious. Close the vote. Another very clear approval, 117 in favor, 6 against. So I declare that vote a yes for 23. 24, Community Preservation Committee's fiscal year budget and the breakdown of the costs and projects that would be supported, and there is a speaker. Go ahead, identify yourself.
Carolyn Mueller, East Roxbury Drive, a member of the Community Preservation Committee. I feel bad now coming up with a presentation, but maybe I'll scare everybody else to go home. So Article 24 contains a number of items. I know Steve talked about them a little bit. Again, it accomplishes 4 different things. The first slide. The first half of it is, the projects are split into 2 sections this year. We have 4 articles, or 4 projects that we want to have the funds available for us directly after town meeting if they are voted through. These will be spent out of fiscal year 26 budget. That's why this is separate. So we have the 4 undesignated fund for herbicide treatments, for the Hartwell, Yap and Newtown Hill properties, Long Lake and Forge Pond, Lake Mattawanakee, and then a $20,000 open space reserve project that we are sharing with Westford to do an assessment of the Forge Pond, Lake Mattawanakee drawdown. The next slide. The second half of the article is allocations and debt service. You'll see the highlighted items are the debt service that we have this year for borrowing that we did to purchase the Yap, Cobb, and Williams properties. and the historic reserve, historic debt services for the Houghton Memorial Building roof. We're still carrying some debt on those 4 projects for the next few years. The other items are the budget, and if you want to go to the next slide, this again is one of the confusing parts of the CPA budget. We kind of take 2 sets of numbers and merge them together to create the total allocation. On the left-hand side is what we're projecting to collect for the 1% surcharge, which is what we contribute through our property tax. We're estimating to collect in fiscal year 27, so that's next year, $465,155. The blended funds are what we just voted through from free cash in the previous article, and we thank the town, the select board, and finance committee, their policy, they were able to match that 1-to-1 this year, so that's another $465,155. So the total revenue for fiscal year 27, again, which we will collect next year, is $930,310. Community Preservation Committee is taking that estimate, and on the left-hand side again, we're allocating 40% of that to open space, 18% to historic resources, 20% to community housing, 21% to recreation, 1% is reserved for administrative budget. That equals the $933,310. On the right-hand side, you'll see this is the state match. We are estimating the Department of Revenue has asked us to use a 15.5% state match this year, and this is money that we will receive in November of 2026 based on revenue that we will report to DOR at the end of the fiscal year 26, June 30th. So we're estimating that figure to be $725,178. So 15.5% of that is the $112,401. And then you can see in the grid below, we allocate that a little differently. We take 30% to open space, 15% to the historic resources, community housing, recreation, and then we leave 25% behind. You won't see the undesignated in the article because it's just deposited into the community preservation reserves and left there. So the total allocation, the far right-hand column, goes back to the article. You'll notice those dollar amounts. Next slide. So these are our projects that we are recommending to be approved tonight. You'll see we have, there are three recreation projects. One is for refurbishment of the Russell Street School Community Track, resurface of that. $40,000 is also being added to this project from the track fund that's under the school committee. We also have 2 boardwalks that are going to be, one in the Castle and Trees, which is from the playground over to the Shattuck complex. And then there are 3 boardwalks going through Webster Woods with the new trails there. There are some boardwalks that will be worked on there. The next 2 are open space reserve projects, very similar. Lake management plans for Forge Patent, Mattawanakie, and one for Long Lake, and this will help conservation, Suck Board, Clean Lakes, determine from here on out what we can do for lake management with the herbicide treatments or whatever kind of invasive treatments and what other kinds of items we can come up with. The next 2 items are community housing reserves. One is to update a housing plan. This has been, I can't remember what year, but it's been over 5 years by the time we get this done. And this won't start until a couple more years when we kind of know what will happen up at 550 King Street. So those housing units will be included in this plan. The second one is for the Affordable Housing Trust to reimburse the LRAP program, which is the rental assistance program. They had, I think they can take up to 15 clients with these reserves that they're voting in. And then the final 2 are historic reserves. One is actually 2 parts. One's to refurbish the veterans monuments at the Common, the ones that are there currently, to correct some omissions and some errors. And then there's also, we are now a Purple Heart community, so we are proposing to create a Purple Heart monument to enhance that veteran circle. And then the final is from the Historical Commission. This is the second part of a project of refurbishing the historical markers that are in front of some of the properties around town. They've been out there for a long time and they're kind of crumbling. So this is the second half to refurbish the bases, the cement bases. So we want to thank everyone for their support, and we want to thank the Select Board and FinCom as well. Thank you.
Thank you. You squeezed a 10-minute presentation into 8 minutes, so catch your breath. Discussion of this warrant article.
Yes, George Sanders, 672 Great Road. I'd like to know when they use the term herbicide treatment, I'd like to know, one, that I think on the website they need to tell us what is the herbicide treatment and whether it is an approved item, chemical item, that they're using according to the state environmental protection and according to EPA, if these herbicides are safe to be used. We have the right to know what herbicide that they're using, and it needs to be posted so that people can know and go to the website, and they should tell us whether or not it's approved by the state and the feds.
Thank you. I think whoever's responsible for the applications can take that under advisement.
Mr. Moderator, Chase Gerbig, Chair of the Conservation Commission.
Thank you.
I actually can't speak to exactly which herbicides, but I can speak to the process by which we go through approving the herbicide applications. It's all a public process. They're all state and federally approved herbicides. The herbicide applications are evaluated, or the notice of intent is evaluated in the context of the Wetlands Protection Act. So, Mr. Sanders, I can't tell you exactly which one, but otherwise the process that you outlined is the process that we follow.
Thank you. Ms. Hodeling.
Hi, I'm Gwen Hodeling at 2 Hager Homestead Way. The line that I wanted to discuss was the $55,500 for recreation reserves for the boardwalk at Castle in the Trees. And as your comment was that it was to connect the Castle in the Trees to the Shattuck Street, which does involve going across a conservation land with some sensitive habitat. I don't believe that an entire boardwalk is going to go, you know, that quarter of a mile from the Castle in the Trees to the Shattuck Street property. But the question I have is that there is, after you go across the conservation land, there's some very wooded and wet area that has to be transversed to get over to behind the library and then ultimately over to, say, the Russell Street School, which I believe was the intent. So my question was, is that $55,000 including the bushwhacking and improving that wooded area behind the library?
Who would like to address this question about the boardwalk project? Oh, very good. Mr. Rumbacher.
So there are plans to put a boardwalk, I believe, behind the baseball field to the Hager property, and there's another boardwalk that goes from basically from the Hager property or somewhere in there to Castle in the Trees. All the permitting has to be done through conservation, so that the Conservation Commission is well aware of this and will have jurisdiction over the wetlands and everything. So that's all in the works.
Thank you. Wanted to make sure that was protected, and also that you would definitely notify the abutters of where and when this work was going to happen. Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, Chase Gerbig, Conservation Commission, if I can speak to that for 1 second. As Mr. Rumbacher said, it'll follow the standard notice of intent process, which will include, among other things, abutter notifications when it goes through. And although the project hasn't yet been designed, right, we sort of approve the funding, then the design comes through, then we see the funding. Boardwalks are something that we've gotten very good at, particularly in concert with the Littleton Conservation Trust. Doing in a way that minimizes the impact. So I think what your concerns will ultimately be addressed in the permitting process as well as notification.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion of this article? I think we're ready to vote on Article 24. Are we ready to receive votes? Yes. Go ahead and use your clickers gleefully for 20 seconds or less. Two-second warning. We're closed on the voting, and Article 24 is approved by another lopsided vote of support. Declare the vote a yes for Article 24. Brings us to Article 25, Revolving Fund Bylaw Amendments. This was a reason to stay late. Is there any discussion of Article 25? Go ahead.
I'm Joanne Deary from Harwood Avenue, and I don't know if this is the right article, but I learned at a recent select board meeting that Park and Rec, which is mentioned in this article, has accumulated a fund of like $740,000 that I guess they could use to do projects that that board would want to do, and I don't like the idea. The money must have come from like what people paid to enroll in their programs, and $740,000, that is a lot of money. And I think if Park and Rec has an idea of a project that they'd like to do, it would be better for them to make a proposal at town meeting and let the whole town decide if we're going to do it or not, and if we want to fund it, instead of having, you know, part of people's participation fees go to build up this fund. So, like, I didn't know if this revolving fund amendment would, you know, regulate that kind of accumulation of an account.
Thank you. And maybe just, would you be willing, town council, talk about revolving funds and just what they are used for, how they work? Provide a little context.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So I think this does not achieve what you're trying to achieve. This article is about amending our revolving fund bylaw. So we adopt revolving funds, and we have a bylaw that explains how they're going to be used. In this particular instance, we want to amend the bylaw to expand the way we use our MART bus fees and to eliminate under the MART bus fee revolving fund how we report that, because it's right now we report to MART under a contractual obligation, so we don't want duplicative obligations. In the second instance, this adds a reporting requirement to Park and Rec for their revolving fund, and you can see their fees are used for salaries and wages, services, equipment, and expenses associated with programming. All we're doing here, though, is adding that the director must make reports to the respective doings and detailed statements of all receipts, expenditures, and liabilities, and that's more or less right out of the statute. So this doesn't address your concern. It addresses minor changes that we think need to be made to the revolving fund, and I don't know that we can get to your concern in this particular warrant article.
Thanks for that clarification.
Is there any other discussion of Article 25? People are ready to vote. Are we ready to receive the votes? Go for it. Use your clickers. Article 25. Two-second warning. Voting is closed. 114 in favor, 4 against, I declare a yes vote for Article 25. We are passing over Article 26. Deep sigh. Article 27, weights and measure fees. Is there any discussion of warrant Article 27? People are ready to vote. Okay, are we ready to receive the vote? Go ahead. See if you can do it in 15 seconds. I'm kidding. You have 20. I shouldn't have been kidding. You were done in 15. The voting is closed, and the outcome, 116 in favor and 2 opposed. I declare a yes vote for Article 27. Moving on to Article 28. There was one typo in the very first sentence in the published town report. Did we get a correction in the green sheet? It's the section number, which is correct in the actual motion, but just isn't in the preamble sentence. It's section 1097, which is involved. Is there any discussion of Article 28, Transient Merchants Bylaw? Nobody's racing to the microphone. You ready to vote? Are we ready to receive the vote? Yes, go ahead and cast your votes. I hope your clickers aren't getting tired. Look at that. 2-second warning. The voting is closed. 116 in favor, 1 opposed. I declare a yes vote on Article 28. Article 29. Permits and licenses of delinquent taxpayers bylaw. Is there any discussion of Article 29? Very good.
Jared Alpiori, just New Estate Road. Just one comment about this is it removes any grace period at all. If somebody's 1 day late, they go on the list and potentially have what, licenses and permits blocked? I'm wondering why there's a change.
Well, who wants to speak? You? Very good.
Robin Healy, Finance Director. We did this because we certainly would work with anybody that needed us to issue a permit, but to wait a full year is pretty extensive, and I'm trying to protect the revenue that's coming in for the town, which is in the best interest of everybody.
Is there a follow-up comment?
Yes, then why not like 30 days or something? At least that way.
We can do that.
Okay, so can we amend this to give a 30-day grace period?
Town council would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, through you to the previous speaker. So there's a process involved in this, and it requires a hearing and it requires notice. I think the time frame you're looking for is already baked into the process. It's just not reflected in the bylaw.
I don't think we had a formal motion for an amendment. We do have a formal motion for an amendment. Could you, excuse me, sir, but could you come and show us on the warrant what the wording would be? I'll loan you my pen. We're in 29. You want to insert?
Delinquent after 30 days.
Okay, the motion to amend has been withdrawn after a clarifying conversation up in the front of the room. Thank you for that. People ready to vote on Article 29? No motion to amend. Okay, we're ready to receive your votes. Go ahead and vote on Article 29 as originally presented. Two-second warning. We're closing the vote. 102 in favor, 15 opposed. This warrant article is approved. I declare the vote a yes. Which brings us to the last of the articles for which there are motions tonight, Article 30, which would amend prior town meeting Clean Lakes Revolving Fund article. Is there discussion about Article 30? People are ready to vote. Oh, I didn't see you.
Hi. I'm Dave Barr, 49 Mattawanaki Trail. I was just wondering, we put this in place last year for the Clean Lakes Committee funding. I'm wondering what the reason was for changing the group that's responsible for authorizing the spending from the Clean Lakes to the Conservation Commission.
Mark Rumbacher, would you care to respond?
So the process by which funds are expended through Clean Lakes is now through the Conservation Department. Because the Conservation Department is the one that's expending the funds, we're making the Conservation Commission responsible for the oversight, since they're responsible for the oversight of the Conservation Department. This is more of a bookkeeping than actually moving the funds. It's just because the conservation agents are expending the funds, we wanted the funds to go with the people that they actually report to.
Okay.
You set?
Yeah, I would just suggest change like this, there should be a discussion among the groups involved before it shows up in the warrant.
Is there any further discussion? Article 30. People ready to vote? Very well. We can receive your votes. Go ahead. Click away. Two-second warning. The voting is closed. The motion in Article 30 passes. It's approved with a 103 to 13 advantage. I declare a yes vote. Now, before I invite the motion to dissolve, I want to inform every one of you that these clickers that you're holding are not free. The town pays to have them. So if they go home with you, the town loses that investment. So don't get up and move. Don't do anything, but be ready to drop the clicker before you leave the room. Please do that. Everyone will be happy. I will now entertain a motion to dissolve the meeting. May I have a second? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed to dissolving the meeting, please say nay. This town meeting is concluded.